Hello people, I'm Jaby KOAY, joined by ACHARA KIRK.
Hi there.
We're gonna do a two for today, two reviews. The first one is Along with the Gods, The Two Worlds, and then Along with the Gods, The Last 49 Days. They're gonna be kind of interchangeable actually as we go.
Yes.
I'm gonna keep this as spoiler-free as possible, but I will recommend to you which order to watch these in, as one is a sequel to another. So real quick, just to give you guys a little bit of information about these films in case you haven't even watched the trailers yet. So Along with the Gods, The Two Worlds, after a heroic death, a firefighter navigates the afterlife with the help of three guides. Along with the Gods, The Last 49 Days, in the afterlife, one guardian helps a man through his trials while two colleagues help a former guardian on Earth. Before we get into this review, just want to quickly thank CGV Cinemas for allowing us to watch Along with the Gods, The Last 49 Days. They invited us to watch it. It was free tickets for us, and that was very, very, very awesome because I was very anxious to watch this film after watching the trailer to Along with the Gods, The Two Worlds. They have the best popcorn in the world. That's why we went to that theater in particular.
The one in Buena Park.
The one in Buena Park. They got the sour cream popcorn and the caramel.
That's not the only flavors, but our two favorites are the caramel popcorn and the sour cream and onion, which sounds like a weird combination, but super good.
Let me tell y'all how much I love this popcorn, okay? So we don't go to this part of town very often, and there is this mall with a bunch of like Korean outlets, and we got some treats. We went in there just like kicking ass and taking names later.
Hardcore.
Yeah, because we just got all the things. And so by the time we walked into the theater, I was genuinely full. But ACHARA was like, I'll pay for it. I'm like, well, we're getting everything then. And so I got the big, large popcorn split with sour cream and the caramel, and that was delicious. And then in addition to that, we bought $20 more worth of food. So, and you best believe I ate all of it. The food's great over there. If not for anything else, I would say go to CGV Cinemas in Buena Park for their amazing food because they've got the best theater food you can find. Along with the Gods, The Two Worlds, and Along with the Gods, The Last 49 Days. Now, here's the thing. This is the thing, okay? Someone didn't inform me that we were going in to watch a sequel. I didn't know that this was part two. I saw the trailer for Along with the Gods, The Two Worlds, and I was very, very excited for it because it was an amazing trailer, and I really wanted to watch this movie. And then we were offered an opportunity to watch Along with the Gods, and I was like, yes, I definitely want to watch that, not knowing it was the sequel. ACHARA knew, everybody knew, not Jaby. And so we go in to watch this film, and I'm like, this is weird, like I don't remember any of this from the trailer. And the name of the film, like that's what struck me first. The Last 49 Days, like that's such a peculiar title. I feel like I would remember that. Oh well, let's watch this. And come to find out that it was the part two of this anthology so far. Anyway.
In my defense, I did think that maybe it was one of those sequels that you could watch on its own, which you kind of can, but you definitely benefit from watching the first one first.
You cannot watch part two without part one. You cannot. We learned this the hard way because I go into this film and I'm like, why should I care about any of these characters? I don't know what's going on in this movie. It just drops you in the middle of the action. I'm like, this feels like it's kind of dropping you in an act two. Feels like an act two.
I guess it was an act two.
So it is the sequel. It is genuinely a sequel. It literally picks up right where the first one leaves off.
Yeah.
That in mind, definitely watch Along with the Gods, The Two Worlds first, and then watch The Last 49 Days. That being said, let's just start getting into the actual like meat of this, right? Let's start with The Two Worlds because you can't really watch the second one without the first one, as we established. I was captivated by the visuals, like just the sheer level of imagination that was being dropped into this story. It looked amazing. It looked like Matrix meets What Dreams May Come, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff just kind of pushed together and coalesced into this new fantastic idea about, you know, the afterlife. And I thought, wow, that's a story I definitely want to watch. When you watch the movie, it's not as epic and high concept as the trailer would have you believe. It's more about this interpersonal drama between characters, and it deals a lot with family.
Yes.
That being said, it's not a bad movie at all. It's actually really good, and it's very entertaining. It's very moving.
Yeah.
Like it definitely moved both myself and ACHARA.
Oh boy.
Yeah, to tears.
Yeah, there was a. Yeah.
And it was intense. It was an intense film. It just wasn't what I was expecting, and that was my major gripe with it. As I was watching Along with the Gods, The Two Worlds, I was like, wow, there's a lot of part two in this.
Yeah.
And so that leads me to some of the points I want to make about part 2 real quick. They retread a lot of the same ground in part 2, like same sets, same actors. Well, not all the same actors. They leave out the firefighter from the first one. But there's a lot of revisiting, familiar places. And if you're a fan of the first film, that could be really cool. The thing is, the character that is being led, the person who dies and now has to be reincarnated, his character is not as interesting. This military guy from the last 49 days is not as interesting as the firefighter from the Two Worlds.
To be honest, I think both of the paragons that they had to reincarnate were not the most interesting.
Oh, I thought the
characters.
firefighter was way more interesting.
He was more interesting, but I think that the 3 guardians, those were the coolest.
Of course, and and that's why in the sequel, The Last 49 Days, it dives a lot more into the background of the 3 Guardians, which is really cool.
Very good story.
Like, it's actually very interesting to find out about them. But the thing is, going into it without having watched the first one, I didn't know why I should care. So for the first 45 minutes, I was like, I don't know why anything is happening in this movie. So that was not a negative against the film. That being said, though, despite not having the first film, I was still captivated by the backstory of the 3 Guardians. Their backstory was actually very fascinating, and the way that the story kind of, I don't want to give away too much in case you haven't watched it yet, but it is very interesting how everything comes together at the end. I would recommend it for that after you watch the first film. Now back to what you said, the firefighter guy actually did move me. His story touched my heart. Like, in fact, him and the soldier who's in the sequel, like, them together, like, their storyline actually moved me, and I thought that it was actually well done. The soldier on his own in the sequel, it's just, he's not as interesting to spend time with.
Well, I think it's also because he's less of a likable character.
Exactly.
Because he is a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, but you could appreciate him more in the first one, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
There was so much more depth, way more depth, with the Paragon in the first film than the second one. And it seems like people agree so far. The first one has 6,000 votes on IMDb with 7.3 out of 10. The second one only has 112 votes with 6.4 out of 10. Just using an aggregate, I know it's the numbers are not 1-to-1, but the first one is liked more than the second one.
When you look at the dates that they were released as well, this was definitely done with the idea of it being one whole story, because the first movie was released in December 2017, and then this second one was released just this month in August 2018.
Yeah.
So like they must have been working on them at the same time.
Yeah. And there's supposed to be a third one, I think, based on the way the second one ended. I'm pretty sure there's going to be another one. I will definitely go watch that if that speaks to the quality of the films. That being said, they're not action-heavy movies. There's a lot of visual effects, but the meat of the story is more about, like I said, interpersonal drama.
Yeah.
I think the visual effects and just the scope of the films, the first one wins. Like, the first one, to me, just had better quality all around between the acting, the visual effects, the story, all of it, even the way it's shot. The second one did have some beautiful shots, and the acting was decent in the second one, but like for some reason, like the first one just won me over way more. It just worked for me better, and that may just be a byproduct of knowing what's going on. I think it is neat to see some of the familiar things happen. Like, if you watch the first one and the second one back to back, you'll actually be very gratified at the things that are revisited, because you're like, oh, that person,
it's all connected. Everyone's there. Yeah. Even little cameos of like the grandfather character, the little boy character, and the house god character. They're all there in the first movie, but if you are not paying attention, you might not remember them. But it was so cool watching it back to back and being like, oh, no, there he is, even though he just like was standing there.
The films are really neat, and I think they're definitely worth watching on the big screen, but just know that a lot of it is drama, and like if you don't know that going in, you might be disappointed. For the first film, I would give that one, I think I would give that like a 3.5 out of 5, and the second one I would give a 2.5 out of 5.
I'll give it a 3.
Again, like I watched the second one without having watched the first one. I'm trying to like retroactively like put this in order and think about what my feeling is knowing all that, and I still think I would give it a 2.5 out of 5. It didn't measure up to the first one, and I think that's my main gripe with it. Even if I watched it in order, I think I would have been a little disappointed that it didn't hit the quality of the first one.
I mean, I will agree that the first one was better, but there were elements of the second one that I really enjoyed. I just really enjoyed the relationships in the backstory of the Guardians, and I enjoyed the storyline of the grandfather, house god, and the little boy. Again,
the backstory that you learn about these 3 Guardians in the second story is very, very fascinating. It doesn't quite gel at the very, very end the way I was hoping it to, and the very last dramatic scene of the second one I was very disappointed with, but overall it was a neat movie.
Yeah.
So I still think it's worth watching.
And you know what's really neat about it as well is that it's drawing on Buddhist mythology, I guess is what you would call it. Like the ideas of hell and what you have to go through in order to get reincarnated. I think that's a really interesting premise, and it gives you a lot to draw from in the scope of fantasy. And I think, you know, they've done a very good job at creating that world.
There's a lot to explore. That being said, you guys, let us know what you think in the comments below. If you've had a chance to watch it, we'd love to hear your opinions on it. Check out ACHARA KIRK on the social media. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Check out our other reactions, reviews, and short films. I'm Jaby KOAY. This is
ACHARA KIRK.
Peace out.